Yeah, well, in fact, it was the same glue, the same adhesive, as was it's very bright, as was used to put the polystyrene on. But it was cementitious. Yeah, I mean, the old house was painted with a masonry paint. Was it damp? It wasn't originally damp. There was some poor brickwork that it needed dealing with. There were some areas on exposed corners where damp was coming through anyway. But it was a combination of driven damp through some areas, and there was a bit of surface condensation because it was quite hard to heat the house. There wasn't an awful lot of that, to be honest. The main area of concern was down where the basement wall and the external, all the stuff that people do over the years. It was so that's the area I'm keeping my eye on. But the rest of it's fine, yeah. Well, I should imagine that we've probably improved it. I mean, I won't know, but we've stopped cold air blowing through the gap. Oh yeah, for all of its width. Wherever our wall overlaps their wall, they're slightly displaced. Because our house was built first, and their house was built up to the 25, 30 mil gap. So I imagine by stopping the air moving through, we've warmed their house up, and we probably, because we're now heating our house to a higher temperature, it's going through the party wall and slightly heating their house up as well, fractionally. I don't think we'd have affected damp movement in their house by doing what we've done. We talked to them about it. They haven't complained yet, anyway. Yeah, sound was an issue. They're party people next door, so there was an issue. We wanted to put in a foam which was quite dense because we wanted it to really glue that surface up for air tightness, and it was also the cheapest we could get, all we could get. So in terms of, it wasn't the best foam for sound insulation, I don't think, which I think would be softer, maybe. So I'd say it hasn't really changed the sound between the houses. Possibly very slightly, but I think they thought that we were doing it for thermal insulation reasons. I think they thought we were doing it for acoustic reasons, so of course they upped their volume. So I think they probably kept it about the same. So. Well, the boiler's resized, I suppose, for the hot water. I mean, we just came out of the cold weather. We finished the installations just as we came out of the cold weather, so I haven't had much experience of it. The experience I have had is that the heat recovery was on, reclaiming the heat. And I got the impression that that was doing most of the work, keeping the house up to 20.5. And about 3 of the radiators weren't working, the old radiators had blocked up or something. And so about 3 around the house, which I occasionally noticed were faintly warm. It was that kind of level. And the temperature just stayed fine. So I'll have more to say about that after this next winter if it's, reasonably cold. We didn't size the radiators. David's come up with some issue which I don't quite understand to help me balance this. I don't know. Something could be done. I don't know to what benefit. But, what is exciting about living with this, because it's fairly simple stuff. There's nothing exciting and wangy about a lot of this approach. It's just the way that the heat recovery seems to be, in my mind, to be doing the heating and keeping the temperature really even. Yeah. Three children running around. Balanced by the gains, internal gains, the solar gains, appliances.
Additional heating element within the heat recovery?
No. No, I looked at the ground source, sort of pre-warming the air down the garden. That was just too expensive. I couldn't drain it properly. Given the fact that we had radiator system there, it didn't seem... And the heat load was a bit high for taking the risk of just putting it all into the air. It seemed like the sensible, cheapest way to do it, to be honest. And also, I'd had to have insulated all the ducts. So fitting those ducts through the existing house structure was one thing, but then with them insulated as well would have made it impossible, so... It's all part of that, the people who'll be living in these houses will be buying into it, won't they? I mean, it's a pact between, the owner, the tenant, and the design team and so on. So it's just setting something in place which embeds that in the way they use the house. And certainly if they are seeing direct benefit on their costs to them, then it will lock it in. I think if the direct benefit of all of this goes to the tenant, then they have a distinct reason to keep it there, don't they? No, there's just a supply into the attic, and then it sort of slowly drifts down the stairs and to the exhaust, the extract point. As I moved up the house, there were more limitations on getting ductwork in. I mean, what I'm going to do, when I can afford it, is buy some external blinds for the roof lights and just stop it coming in, because it's perfectly warm enough without I've put blankets over it just to see. And it, basically just by shielding those roof lights for the early morning sun and the kind of outside the heating period, it does the job. Yeah. I mean, if you're living in it, you don't want it to be a solar, a hot air reservoir to heat the rest of the house. You want it to stay comfortable. So that would probably. Yeah, around the back they were original single glazed ones, in poor condition, and at the front they were UPVC double glazed. They weren't too bad, and we did talked with David here about just retaining them and putting the insulation. They were sash, putting insulation over the frames to improve them, and but in the end it was like for another couple of £1,000 we kind of let's just do it and go the full hog. But yeah, if I'd had less money or less sponsorship help, there's £20,000 worth of sponsorship helping this happen, then I may well have kept them and tried to work those in. Yeah. I mean, they're really nice windows, the ones that have gone in, I have to say. They're sort of impressive.